Hi, welcome to M4G Advocacy Media. You're watching the Journey Series podcast. I'm Mark, a co-host. I'm a brown man with a black and white beard, blue glasses. Today I've got on a gray shirt and I'm in front of a painting and a shelf with some knickknacks. Oh, and I'm bald. I have no hair on my head.
And I'm Crystal. I'm the other co-host. I'm a white woman with glasses and brown hair, brown eyes, and a brown background with some canvas paintings and a lamp and a table.
Hi, I am Adam David Jones. I am the guest. I am a multiracial person, but I look pretty white, so that's how people treat me. I have long hair that's tied back right now. I have a pretty full beard. I'm in my home office with whiteboards behind me and another desk and my paper shredder. Not sure if you could see that. And I'm wearing a black shirt. And welcome.
Hi, Adam. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Go ahead and start wherever you like, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be here. I am my disabilities are in epilepsy and traumatic brain injuries. How that manifests in my life is often with long-term or midterm memory problems. My epilepsy is under control, thankfully, and I just grow every day, try to get 1% better at dealing with my disability because it only came on late in my life, in my 30s, and now most people don't say this, but I'm in my 40s.
Yeah, we talked yesterday, if I can interrupt for a second. We talked about yesterday, we're all around the same age.
Yes. Yes. Crystal and I are born the same year.
Yes.
And Mark is born in 1977. So he's a solid Gen Xer.
Yeah.
And Crystal and I are Xennials, we said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Back in my day, we didn't have the internet.
That's right. That's right. You probably have the ARPANET, but you didn't play around with that.
Yeah.
Right.
We just got cars and electricity. Actually.
Cars were invented when you were like 3, right?
Right.
And they let you drive it when you were 5.
Yeah. So tell us a bit more about your journey.
Okay. Well, I've had a long and interesting life. That's one thing I can say for myself. I have been an entrepreneur my entire life, and a lot of my life has been defined by entrepreneurship in the sense that I define myself that way. I'm getting over that in my early 40s and understanding I'm much more nuanced than just solving problems. I was a professional actor for over a decade, so that's an entrepreneurship in itself. I organized music festivals for several years and was deeply involved in the live music community from Baltimore to New York City, Philadelphia, Baltimore, a little bit in DC, some in Boston. I went to California. I was in New York for about a decade. I went to NYU and for theater. And then I decided I'm going to go to California and try my fortunes there, and did well. I was there for about 2 years when I found out my grandfather had Alzheimer's. And he was my best friend growing up. I was homeless by the time I was 17, and he made sure that I was still well taken care of. So he was important to me. So I moved back to Pennsylvania, which is where my hometown is, from California, from NorCal. Not a SoCal boy, a NorCal boy. And I moved back to Pennsylvania to be sure that he was well taken care of, because he was not going to die in a nursing home neglected by other people. He was going to die beside me.
Right.
For the next 2 years, I took care of him. I had to go back to California for a couple plays I was already contractually obligated for, but I got a place out here and stayed with him. You know, he was his primary caretaker. February 7th, 2016, he passed away beside me as I wanted. At that time, I was getting my grandmother's everything ready for my grandmother, so she didn't have to worry about things. He always took care of things. So all of her bills would be paid. You know, she didn't really have to think about water and sewer and credit card bills and anything else. It would all be taken care of.
Oh,
Well, about 6 or 7 weeks later, I was getting ready to go back to California to kiss girls and play with swords, because that's what I was good at. And I was looking forward to it. I had NorCal. I was also looking at Portland. I had a theater company I was eyeing that might be a good fit for me. There's Ashland, Oregon, where they have all the Shakespearean plays, and it's just world-class theater. Anyway, so I was looking right. I was getting ready to go back. My friend said, would you help me organize a Bernie Sanders rally and voter registration event before you go back? And I said, it was like late March. I said, yeah, I got a little bit of time. I'll stay for another week or two, and then I'll head home. Well, what was my home? And I helped organize this event. It was a great event. We marched to the Capitol in Harrisburg, PA. I was on the phone cold calling people for the Sanders campaign. It was like hundreds of people in central Pennsylvania came out, and there was bands, and there was again voter registration, and there was beer, and everybody had a great time. About towards the end of the night, I was getting pretty tired. It was 1 a.m. I'd been there for 13, 14 hours. The last band was on. I said, Chris, are you good? Can I like call it a night and go back? He said, yeah, I got this. You go ahead. And a friend of mine who I had not seen since grade school, but recognized me, had come up earlier in the day and said, hey, Adam. Like, whoa, Amanda, I haven't seen you for 30 years. Or well, I was younger, 23 years or something. And then when I was getting ready to leave, she said, hey, would you like to go back with me to this party this man introduced me to? I said, not really, but she just met this man. I said, but I'll go back with you. I'll make sure it's cool. You know, everybody's chill. And then I'll go back to my car and I'll head home. So that's the last thing I remember.
no.
I left the venue, and apparently we headed back to this place. In the last second, and another friend was with us, by the way. And he too was just going to go back and see if it's okay, and then we're going to leave. The last second, he said, well, I don't know if all these people should come in at once. Only one of you should go. Well, I'm like, okay, well, that's me. I'm not going to let her go. I'm that kind of person. I used to never be worried about anything, you know, not people. I was not scared of people. And I don't remember, but from what I understand, we left together. A few moments later, there was a big loud crash, and he came back to the car and he told her, you were going to F me or your friend's going to die. You can give me money too, I think was part of it. So she said, what happened? They went back and they got my dying body, took me back to the car, and my other friend had snuck away somehow. She distracted the man who probably attacked me, called 911, and the police were there in 10 minutes. They found this man covered in my blood. He had already rifled my pockets. They found my money in his pocket, but they arrested everybody right away. They rushed me to a world-class surgical center, and they took my skull apart because my brain was bleeding. And so were my eyes and my ears and my nose. I was in a coma for about a month. And when I woke up, they said I was attacked. I was mugged. I was like, oh, okay, well, happens. Probably a young man, probably 20 years old, scared and hungry and didn't know what to do. And he overreacted.
Yeah.
And then I heard that it wasn't a young man, but an older man, older than I was. And the first his story that he said was that I said the N-word to 5 guys who jumped me. And you, there, you could not pay me to do that. You could not today pay me $1 million to say that goddamn word. I find it abhorrent, regardless of who says it. So I knew, now I know whatever happened, this guy's full of shit. But I can't deal with that. I just have to get better. My muscles is atrophied. I had to learn how to swallow again and talk again for the first day or two, walk again. So I was in the hospital on and off for 3 months, first inpatient and then outpatient for about 5 weeks or so. And then when my brain was done swelling, they put my skull back together. I thought it was going to be like, stuffing cake in people's mouths at a wedding. And it would just be, everybody would have a good laugh. But no, it was by far the most painful thing they did for me. About 9 months later, a year after the attack, in the same month, March of 2017, they took this man to trial. And he had already said several different stories, but he represented himself at the trial. And when he got on the stand, he said a new story. And even if you only believe that last story, nothing added up. So 2 days later, this man who was covered in my blood was found in 10 minutes with my money in his pocket and threatened to rape my friend, was acquitted by a jury. When I heard those words, not guilty, I knew that my life was changed. I was never going to allow this to happen to anybody else if it was in my power. And I can do a lot. So for the next year, I was still healing. I was doing research on how I could possibly solve this problem of violence and evidence collection while calling 911, which is absurd today. We don't record any evidence when we call 911. Most first responders have no idea where you even are. Domino's can come to me in 5 minutes for $5 if I get on the app. But if I get attacked or have a heart attack, they have no idea where you are if I can't describe it. So in 2018, I filed corporate paperwork, started a corporation to solve this problem at scale. And the only way to do this at scale is to start a technology company. And since then, I've been working towards a solution to protect people from violence, speed up emergency response, and prosecute violent criminals whenever there's a chance. That was 2018. There's a lot of story between then and now on the adventure of being an entrepreneur, but that's why I am here right now.
We discussed yesterday that when somebody can go through so much adversity and use that to help other people so they don't have to deal with the same things or struggle through the same unfortunate things like you did, and your friend, that's a really big thing, and that shows a lot of humanity.
Thank you.
We're thankful for people like you that use that, and other people benefit from it.
If you're going to spend your life doing anything, why don't you spend it making it a little bit easier for everybody else? I don't see much other point in life.
Right.
One thing that you just mentioned that, I mean, could be because I have some cognitive difficulties sometimes, but it just sounds strange to me that, I understand how the justice system works. Obviously, we have to collect evidence to convict people, right?
Mhm.
But how can you expect, like if it's a violent crime or something where somebody has to get help right away, nobody's going to spend their time collecting evidence,
Mhm.
and let alone doing it correctly,
Mhm.
right? If you are going to spend time collecting evidence, this can be very haphazard,
Yeah.
right?
That's why I want technology to do it for us. So we don't have to, the other thing about this type of technology is we are biased. We have racial, ethnic biases built into our programming as people. Our
Yep.
memories are faulty, right? When you have a traumatic brain injury, your memory is going to be very faulty, which is why I was a terrible witness, but technology can carry a lot of this load for us. It can be relatively objective. And of course,
Yes.
your jury maybe is not completely objective, never can be, but it's the best system we have.
It's also a problem, like you were saying, not only people as victims or witnesses can be biased, but also people who make the decisions can be biased, right?
Mhm.
So you have situations where someone was attacked, but because for whatever reason, due to their injury or some trauma, they're not able to remember details exactly perfectly.
Yes.
Therefore, they're lying.
Yes. Right.
The
Yes.
judicial system is so messed up, especially when it deals with anything dealing with discrimination, disability, or ethnicity, whatever.
Gender's
Yeah,
huge.
yeah, there's so many different ways. Yeah, but we need a major turnaround of how people do things. We talk a lot about the older generation. Their idea of things was, so toxic sometimes.
All the older generations going back millennia.
Yeah. Yep. It just, yeah, it's gotten better, but it's certainly not where it needs to be at all.
Agreed.
And especially the people that I just mentioned, they're still being held down, and not given the opportunity and the chance because of those biases that they have.
Mhm. You're right.
And if we want a better future for our kids and our parents that are going to be disabled because they're going to be older, right? We want that kind of going forward. If we want a better life, for everybody, we're going to have to advance society by the technology, whether people like it or not.
Mhm.
That's what needs to happen. But people are arguing about AI, but okay, cool. That, it can get really negative. It can get really bad, but are we not a people that has any self-control anymore and self-regulation on how to when to use things and when not to? And I don't understand that. How come people are arguing about that?
That's a great question. And I honestly don't know, but I will throw this out there. Humans have never met a Pandora's box that they have not opened.
Mhm.
You know, if it's taking fireworks, July 4th right now, and turning them into weapons, right?
Yeah.
If it's
Yep.
learning how to split an atom and using it to kill tens of thousands of people, there's been no problem, no new
Oh,
idea that has not been used for the worse, not the non-betterment, but the opposite of betterment for mankind. So
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day.
but it's
AI,
interesting. Go ahead.
AI is just another tool or technology, and there's a segment of people that are fearful of it. But
Mhm.
what we really should fear is the people who are using it and
Mm.
have don't have don't have any humanity or don't
Mhm.
have any morals or ethics or are greedy. Those are the people who are going to misuse the AI or whatever tool it is.
Yeah, whatever tool it is. Agreed. I read this article, Mark, real quick, that if you have a trajectory of our technology and our ethical development, if it's from, you know, slavery to you know, ending Jim Crow to women's rights, etc. If you have this chart, our technological development far outpaces our ethical, yeah, far
That
as
makes sense.
yeah, it and it probably always will, or certainly
Yeah.
looks like it. It's hard to say.
That is
Yeah.
extremely evident. You know, there are certainly technologies that we're just not, or some that we're not suited for yet, that we can't, we don't have that self-control. Some of us, you know, there are certainly people that are more laid back and want to advance society in a positive way and helping people and others and not just their own ego, you know, themselves. Um, and that's where it can get really nasty.
Mm.
But also when it comes to especially disability, and as you said, you know, when you have memory issues, you know, would it not be wise to look to a tool such as AI
Mm.
and technology to be able to help save your life
Mm-hmm.
and save other people?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever told you this, but our long-term strategy is to use AI and wearable devices to interpret whether you are in danger and can't get help on your own. And the disability community is a really important community that gets good help, clearly. But beyond our issues, you know, anybody could have a heart attack and not call for help because they can't reach their phone. Apple is already starting to do some of this. So that's a very likely partner in the future when it comes to crash detection. They recently released that. But we want to use AI to help people respond to violence or medical emergencies in real time based on data points that can be collected all around you. Um, didn't mean to get us.
I was looking at the website. Uh so the way it works is like if you're, say you're on Zoom or something, and you have to sign up with a code word and Zoom will recognize. Is that
No,
what?
no,
Oh,
and that's our bad for not communicating well. How it works in this first generation is it runs
Okay.
as an application on your phone or your Apple Watch or whatever. And you can push a button instead of having to find your phone and unlock it and dial 911 and hit send and then tell them where you are and what's happening. You can push a button and it'll live stream your location and audio video from your devices
Okay.
to first responders and your loved ones, so they both know where you are and then can see what's happening to you without having to say a word. And you don't have to get out your phone and unlock it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you can push a button or say a secret safe word to activate Zeer. And then Zeer live streams to your loved ones and first responders. And it also saves all that data to the cloud. So maybe what happened to me won't happen to you, and you'll get the justice that I never did.
Right.
That's how it works in generation 1. Generation 2 is going to leverage more, again, wearable devices and simple machine learning to interpret whether you're in danger and can't call for help on your own.
And how do you prevent like someone from pushing the button accidentally or something?
It's a good
Yeah.
question. I think in the long run, when we have enough users, we will be able to interpret whether with machine learning, we'll be able to interpret if that was an accidental call. But in my early research, every 911 call taker I spoke with, they said we'd rather get 10 fake calls instead of getting, if we have to just get one real call, like they'd rather have accidental calls.
Mhm.
But it is still really a problem that will have to be dealt with when we do scale.
Right.
Right.
So good question.
We were talking yesterday about, I know you've been an entrepreneur for quite a while, but maybe you can speak to this. What is it about disability and the way the system works that sort of forces us, we either have a choice, either live in poverty or become an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that was a great conversation.
Well, like many people in society, this is intersectionality too. If you're a Black woman with a disability, you have even more problems than a cis white male, right? Society does not like the other. They don't want to confront people that are different from them. So they relegate us to certain quarters, and it's like, oh, well, you can do this. You can, I don't know, my dad's a quadriplegic. You can answer the phone for somebody, right? And it's just an example. He wouldn't do that, but that's just an example. But you can't do this. And it's implied or it's spoken, often by people who even care about us, because that's the gestalt, that's the culture that they grew up in. You can do this, but you can't do that, right? If you're blind, you can't write code, to say. But, blind entrepreneurs have come up with ways to write code without being able to see. I mean, there's a blind entrepreneur that I helped coach about 2 or 3 weeks ago through Remarkable. Remarkable is an accelerator in Australia and in the US, and I just volunteered to help coach him. And he's building magnificent things to allow people with blindness to be able to navigate indoors. It's just, navigation clearly is a big problem for the blind community.
Awesome. Yeah.
So,
You'll have to send us a link to that.
Huh?
You'll have to send us a link to that.
Oh, yeah, I will. Brandon's his name. And I put him in contact with Kevin Yu of see names. That's my problem, especially proper nouns. With Haptic Nav. Haptic Nav, Kevin, their CEO, and I met at a disability pitch night in New York City for NYC Tech. Anyway, and he uses haptic navigation to help people with blindness to navigate roadways and things like that. And Brandon is more focused, but his product can work in both places on indoor navigation. So I thought I put them both together, and I think they're busy working together now.
Cool.
Our last guest, you said you watched Sheldon yesterday.
I didn't
Right.
watch all of it, to be honest. I watched some of it.
Oh, he actually talked about going to New York.
Yeah, no,
And-
and Philadelphia, right? Because if he went to school in Philly, right?
So it'd be good to pass on him.
I will.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, just do an invite and an email, and I'll see if there's any synchronicity between. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great word, synchronicity. And same with symbiosis. We're all very connected, and we can all work together for a common good. I mean, obviously we live in the West, and capitalism is a big thing here, and it's great, but it's been oversold, and we just sort of,
I agree. You're talking to the choir.
forgot. Yeah.
So we were discussing the implications and the reasons why we work for ourselves,
Mhm.
having a disability, and the kind of opportunities that we struggle with because of the ways that the older generations were taught to treat us. So we've kind of had to pay our own way and do our own thing. And
Yeah. I would
On
like
the one
to say,
hand, sorry, go ahead.
no, real quick, I'd say I learned this by going through Together International's accelerator for people with disabilities. We came up a lot, and I think it's very accurate. People with disabilities already live like an entrepreneur. They're trying to solve problems day by day, just so they can thrive.
Yeah. From the start. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's also, on the one hand, it's sad, and it can get depressing how people are constantly telling you what opportunities you can have or what you can't do. But
Mhm.
it's also inspiring and empowering, because we get to choose what we can do, because every opportunity is open to us, because there's no limits on that. Since no
There
one
never
thinks we
was.
can do anything, we're unlimited in what we can do.
Right. We get to choose who we correspond with and how we go forward. We're not forced into a situation. Well, I would say in the past I was, because I was kind of going with what society told me I had to do to be successful. And I did all those things, but well, it didn't work. So yeah, of course I'm gonna go forward in a different way, and with who I want to deal with, and that's going to be successful for me and people around me.
Nobody can define you but you. People try, but at the end of the day, only you know who you are, and you can choose to be that person, or you can choose to be what somebody else tells you you are.
Right.
That's the choice you have. And in that freedom to choose you is, God, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. when you're able to realize the kind of things you've been held back by and the conformity that people struggle with, when you realize that it's easy to, or not, I don't want to say easy because it's a long road and a difficult thing to, and a lot of, internal turmoil you go
Yes.
through trying
Yes.
to deal with it. But because there is a lot of pushback and there is a lot of naysayers in how
Absolutely.
you're doing it. But that and that's fine, because they're not, if they're not, they're not going to be on the other side of it. They're not the ones who have to do you for the rest of your life.
Right. And, for some of us, it's easier than others. Again, as society treats as a white cis male, lower middle class growing up, but not poor, who spent my life being other people, as an actor. My life I was defined, if you will, by looking at the impossible and going after it. So my life experience in many ways prepared me for this disability. Now, it's not all fun and games.
Yeah,
And
right.
some days it's very frustrating. Right now I'm going through a 5-year rehash of what I've learned over the last 5 years as an entrepreneur. And it's depressing sometimes because I forget so much. But still, I'm lucky. My point is that I'm lucky. And for some people, it might be more difficult to take that power into their hands, but still it's possible. The fact that we have the power to do that it's good to be alive.
I can you talk a little more about your acting experience? Do you know
Sure.
who Aline Gruba is?
Who?
Am I saying it right?
Eileen Gruber, I believe is how
Gruba,
she knows.
Aline Gruba. She also has a disability. She's an actress.
I don't know her personally, but maybe you can make an
Well,
introduction.
she's been on so many things, and most notably, most people recognize New Amsterdam.
Okay, yeah. Well, acting is a lifestyle choice, not a career. No matter
Mhm.
how good you are, if you don't have the right connections or you're in the right place at the right time, or what many of my teachers say, and this works across your life, when preparation meets opportunity, then it's hard to make any kind of career out of it. It's a lifestyle. I was very good at it, so that's why I started to do it. But I never broke into Hollywood. A couple of friends of mine did, but still, you probably wouldn't know them by name, but I could maybe point out a show they've been in. So no, I don't know everybody in Hollywood.
Okay.
But if you want to make an introduction, that'd be awesome. I love meeting new people. But I found out I was very good at it in 10th grade of high school, or people were like, wow. And then I just kept doing it because I like to win. I like to be what I'm good at. And I taught acting. I taught acting to children. I taught at the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute. I taught my own group of adults. I noticed that I was able to grasp it really quickly. The method technique, the Lee Strasberg method technique. And I would help teach my classmates at NYU. But it's a journey. It's there's a lot of uncovering of the self over years and years. And by learning about yourself, you can learn about other people.
Right. Right. I think you'd find it really interesting. We've had some really interesting interviews. I mentioned Eileen Gruba, but we also have done, like you mentioned, you did some, was it like a acting studio or dance studio or what kind of studio?
I taught acting at the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute. I also went to school there for 4 or 5 years. But yeah, it's the technique. It's an acting technique that many of the stars, especially in the 50s and 60s that you know of, went through that program in the group theater. And it's most well known abroad as well. If there's any acting technique that's known outside the United States, it's almost always Strasberg. But yeah, yeah, it's just one way to get to the goal. There's many ways to learn.
So why don't you tell us a bit more about how people can learn more about Zeer and connect with what you're doing? And
Well,
maybe tell us about some of the projects.
sure. Well, you can always reach me on anywhere, I guess. Maybe one of the direct ways is through Twitter or and that's Adam David Jones _ I think. Honestly, I don't use it too much, or Instagram or Facebook, and you can find us. Zeer is Zebra Echo Echo Roger, ZEER. And if you go to zeersafe.com, that's our website. Right now, we had Zeer on the App Store and the Play Store, but we realized pretty quickly that it's not meant for right now. Right now, it's not meant for, it's better to be used by institutions, by universities to distribute to their students and their staff, by small governments to distribute it to their citizens. So that's our goal right now. So how you can help me, my ask is if you have influence or know somebody that's a mayor or chief of police, or possibly involved in student government or an advocacy group for gender-based violence on campus, then you could reach out to me and that'd be very helpful. We have $100,000 promised by an investor to pay for the costs for that first institution. But all I need to do is get a letter from that institution saying, this is interesting. We would like to try this. And then I can deliver it for free.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we are right now in our company life cycle. And that's where I spend a lot of my time, is talking with stakeholders like the Group Violence Initiative of York City, Shiremanstown Borough Council 2 weeks ago, Temple University. And that's where we are to get to the next steps. When we deliver this to our first early users on a college campus or a medium to small town, and it works and it's saving lives and people feel safe, then we can start to distribute it more nationwide. But first we have to get that one next step.
We can certainly help you promote that. And then on our own website as well, we have a portfolio for like over 45 guests now.
Oh, wow.
my God. Yeah.
So every time your episode airs, we also place a tab there, or not a tab, but
like a listing on a resource page.
Yeah,
great.
So we can do that too. So if somebody watches this or not, they can still go to that and see what you're about.
Thank you. That's where I am. That's my big ask. That's how we move to the next stages. You know, we have I had another great conversation last week with Insight Capital. They're interested in a $3 to $5 million investment, but not until we get to that next step. And
Yeah.
it's little steps that can end up being big steps in entrepreneurship.
We do the best we can to connect people in the disability community and those around them that are helping the disability community thrive. But we can't do it all. We're just two people. We're trying to grow, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So if our guests go to what we're talking about, and they see somebody they want to connect with and help them grow, and they can help them grow,
Yeah.
that's a good thing too.
I know tons of entrepreneurs in the disability space solving problems, or that are disabled themselves and solving problems. So, you won't be in a shortage for guests in the entrepreneurial space if you ever want one. Yeah. There's a lot of good people doing good work, and a lot of it's cutting edge too.
Yeah.
We can all get a lot further if we work together.
Yes.
Yeah, that is so important to us. And the reason we formed Influence Advocacy Media is because we wanted this. We wanted to be able to have these conversations and record them for people to watch back, and to be able to say, hey, I've been through that too. I know what that is. I know how that feels. And I want to help. And maybe they can help me too. So that connection is so important.
It really can be lonely when you go through a disability and it's new to you. It can be quite lonely. And also entrepreneurship can feel very lonely. But there are people that have gone through it or are going through it in both cases. But sometimes you don't know how to reach them, or you feel scared to reach them. Of course, as we know, in the beginning, there's stigma attached to it. And it takes us internally a while to get over that. It took me years.
But the funny thing, I mean, not that I'm an expert at this or anything, but life is about learning that the feeling of loneliness and the feeling of connection are just a matter of perspective, really.
Yeah. I think
it
I
doesn't
applaud
always
that.
have to do with circumstance.
Yeah. It's wow. Well, I'm thinking about it. As you go back to this, it's probably it's a little bit of a choice. Do I choose to be connected to other people? Do I choose to make myself vulnerable enough to reach out and feel that connection? Or do I want to stay in my flower and not leave and not bloom?
Right.
Hmm.
Or sometimes it's the perception that other people don't get me, so I'll just stick to myself.
Right.
And do whatever.
And they never will get you if you don't share. If you don't talk about yourself, they'll never get you. I have a friend going through that right now, and it saddens me to think about it.
Yeah. But everyone has to come to that in their own time, through their own path.
That's good to know. And sometimes I want to force them to get out of their shell, but Mark, you're right. It doesn't help them. I need to. Oh, it's so hard for somebody who wants to see people not suffer.
The other part to consider there is what kind of things they've dealt with in the past and the ways they've been hurt and stuff like that. You can't force them to share when they're not ready, or when they're other people are making it more difficult to do so because it's not safe. They don't feel like it's a safe space to share that.
And further to that point, if someone's been through whatever trauma, or it's just, I mean, and their personality, maybe they're just a naturally contradictory person, right? usually the harder you push, the harder they're gonna resist. And it's gonna end up not going your way anyways. So,
Yeah. And it's got to be their way, right? Their
Yeah.
journey, their path, their choice. It's got to be their way. I've been trying to position myself with this person as being a supportive, like a tree that you can lean on.
Mm. And that is so important. Just to say, I'm here and I want to listen. I'm not going to respond. And I'm not going to judge.
No,
You don't
no.
have to worry about that.
Mm.
I just
what
know I'm here.
yeah. What is a really tough thing to do is just trying not to fix things.
I know it's so
I'm
hard.
sure I'm sure as an entrepreneur that's a struggle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I see problems. I want to, but that doesn't mean I can't learn new things, Mark. I will.
And that's the thing about having the disability, having to figure so much stuff out ourselves and be flexible. We have that ability to say, okay, let's stop the fixing and let's just be there. And then, okay, now we're doing the entrepreneur thing right now. So we need to solve problems and fix things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah, what did they say? There's a certain time for everything. Sometimes we just need to create a safe space and listen and allow.
right.
And then other times we got to pick up our tools and repair or build something new.
That's part of this platform as well, is the first part of it. We listen to your journey, your story. We don't interrupt. Well, sometimes we might, a vague thing, but then at the end of it, we have a dialogue and discuss issues and ways that maybe not to wholly fix stuff, but how maybe we think that maybe somebody could, take what we have to say and go forward with it.
Right. And not necessarily build something physical or technological, but maybe in our audience or amongst ourselves, build something idea wise or emotionally that that didn't exist for them before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think, yeah, that was a really good one. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Hell
Thanks,
yeah.
Adam.
I'll do this
It's
any
a
day. You
pleasure.
just give me
Yeah.
some notice and I'll do this.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes.
And yeah, have a great day.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. You guys have an awesome day. Thank you so much. And anytime you guys want to chat, you just give me a call.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It sounds great.